What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video we're taking a look at a game called Beasts: The Edge of Extinction and its upcoming expansion, Revenge of the Dodos. So stick around. Before we get started, if you're new to our channel and you want to see more content like this, start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. The base game, Beasts: Edge of Extinction, was a Kickstarter last year, successfully fulfilled, and this year, the beginning of March, they are releasing an expansion to that game called Revenge of the Dodos. This game is published by Riftway Games. It is for ages 14 and up. It plays 2 to 6 players, and it takes about 30 minutes to play. The contents come with everything that you need to play, obviously. It boasts great artwork. It has, some really neat mechanics built into it. But the question on everybody's mind is this game any good? And that's what we're going to answer. So if you'll join me on the table, we will take a look. Alright, so here we have our box art for both the base game and the expansion. I love how small the expansion actually is, and I love the packaging that it came in, and I'll show you why in just a second. And the name Revenge of the Dodos is just great. Having dodos in the base game is a mechanic that allows you to do different things. This completely changes, not really changes, but it adds a completely new element to the game if you're playing a 3+ player game. So you can play 2 to 6 players in the base game, but if you're only playing 2 players, you won't be able to use Revenge of the Dodos, and that'll make sense once I start showing you what it is. But the artwork on the front cover is great. It has pretty much same artwork all the way around. On one side it does say what the age and player limit and the amount of time it takes, and then on the back it just has very simple what this game is about and what's included inside of it. Same thing over here, except there's nothing on the sides because the package is small, and then it has everything on the back. I want to go ahead and open this up and show you once you get inside of it here. The instructions are actually built onto the package. So the instructions of how to play the expansion are right here. And then the cards came in a little Ziploc bag, which I've thrown away. And then it's just these few cards that add, like I said, a whole new way to play the game with 3+ players. Inside the box you have all of your cards, your dice, your health tracker clips, and the rules. And like I was saying, one of the reasons that I love this packaging is because if you take out some of these components, you can leave everything in the package, throw the rest of your components back in, and then the box closes up and everything fits really nicely inside, which is really well designed. Not every game that you get these days has that, and any chance that you get to have all of your components for a game in one packaging, to me is just awesome, because let's face it, we all have limited shelf space. So once you open everything up, you have all of your components. This is what is included in the box, except for the expansion. You have your 6 character cards. Each player is going to select one of these characters, and essentially what you're trying to do is survive extinction, right? So there'll be natural disasters that happen. These are prehistoric characters, and there'll be natural disasters that happen, as well as predator attacks and things like that throughout events that will cause you to take damage. Plus you can attack other players and lure them into other natural disasters, and you want to be the last character standing, basically. So you've got, a saber-tooth, a dire wolf, terror bird, etc. And each one of them has a once per game ability that they can use. They also have different resistances to the elements, which are things that happen through resources and events. And each one of them is different. So like the Sabertooth has a 1 to their fire resistance, the Direwolf has 1 to their ice or cold resistance, the Terrorbird has, you know, +2 to fire resistance, but they have -1 to frost, so they're going to take extra damage, and so on. But they're well balanced against each other. We found playing that no one character was stronger than the other, which is good. You also have 6 D6s. They're color-coded to the character cards because each player is going to get a D6. Also included are these little life clips, and they basically just clip onto the side of the cards so that you can keep track of your health as you lose and gain health. This is nice, but I personally would just prefer some D20s and keeping track that way, because the clips can be a little finicky, especially later. You'll see, like, when you have resources that you can equip onto your character, you're supposed to put them behind, and sometimes it easily knocks this off. So I would just prefer a D20, but you know, if you're not like me and have 1,000 D20s lying around, the clips are nice. You also have your resource cards. I'll explain these more in detail once I show you how to play, but there's a lot of them. The artwork is fun. My son and I were just playing last night, and he commented on how much he enjoyed the art, and I agree. It's simple, yet it's very colorful and bold, and we really appreciate that. And then you have your event cards. These are played once per turn, or once per round, I should say, and they affect everybody on the table based on what they show. And then you have, of course, your rule book. The rules were very simple to follow, very easy. I had no issues whatsoever. And I like to mention that in my videos because I'm a visual learner, so reading instructions for me can be difficult sometimes. So I tend to go online and watch how to play videos and stuff like that before I read instructions, just because it helps me. But in a game like this, if I can read the instructions and understand how to play without difficulty, I really appreciate that, and these rules did that for me. Alright, so here we have set up for a 3-player game, the Direwolf, Sabertooth, and Terrorbird going up against each other. And again, you want to be the last animal standing. So at the beginning of the game, everybody starts with 20 health. You have your dice, and then everyone will start drawing 3 resource cards, and they will show them face up. Whenever you draw a resource card, you show them face up so everybody can see them. They're not hidden in any way. If you draw an instant action, which I'll show, I'm sure I'll get one, you resolve that immediately, and then it's discarded. You don't keep drawing. You still only get 3. So everybody starts with 3. So let's say the Sabertooth goes first. He will draw a cold resistance. This is an equipable item. It says equip. And it will add +1 frost resistance to the Sabertooth. He gets a +1 attack, which is also an equip. It would go to the top of the card up here. This is where I say these little things get a little finicky. And then he draws another +1 attack. So that's pretty good for him. The next, the Direwolf would go. He gets a heat resistance, a wildfire lure, which I'll explain in a moment, and another wildfire lure. Man, I did a good job shuffling. And then the last guy goes. Here's his instant action. So he has Rabid Dodo attack. So he's going to roll a dice. 1 to 4, he takes the amount of damage rolled. A 5 to 6, I give this to another player, and they have to resolve it. So the Terrorbird would roll. He rolls a 3, so he would take 3 damage. And then this is resolved immediately. So you can kind of see how those instant action works. If I had rolled a 5 or a 6, then I could have given it to like the Direwolf, and then the Direwolf would have had to have rolled, etc. And it would have gone around until somebody took the damage. So now he only gets 2 more cards because he did an instant action. Resourceful. It's draw 2 new resource cards without using an action. I'll explain that in a minute. And another instant action. Karma. Choose a player. Roll a die. 1 to 3, they lose that health. 4 to 6, you lose that health. So he would roll again. He rolls a 5, so he's going to take 5 damage. If he rolled a 3, he could have made somebody else take the damage, but he didn't. He rolled a 5, so he's going to lose 5 health. So the Terror Bird is not starting off too good. So now every round after that is going to start by drawing one event card and then going around the table, starting with player number 1, and each player can take 2 actions. There are a list of actions inside of the rulebook that you can take, and I will explain all of them. The first action that you can take is to draw a resource card. This is called scavenging. There's no limit to how many times you can do it, but you only get 1 card unless you draw a card that says you can do something else, and you can do that as many times as you have actions. So if you have 2 actions, if you don't have anything that gives you an extra action, for example, you could draw 2 resource cards. Again, you draw them face up, the same way that we just did. The next action that you can take is an equip action. When you equip, you can equip everything that you have. You don't have to take separate actions. So for example, this Sabertooth, he has 3 equipable items. He can spend 1 action to equip all of them. So he's going to get +2 to his attack, and he's going to get +1 to his cold resistance. And the way that the instructions tell you to load this up is to put the attacks up top like that, and then the resistance is off to the side like this. See there? Okay. So that's one of the things that he can do on his turn. So he'd still have 1 action left if he wanted to. You can also trade. So if you find somebody else on the table and you want to trade one of your resources for one of their resources, you can certainly do that. You can eat. There are inside of the resource deck food, and when you eat all of the food that you have, and it regains your health. So like this Terror Bird, he's going to want to eat as soon as he gets some food. There's +1 meats, there's +2 meats, and you can also eat the Dodos that are in here in order to gain health as well. You can attack. To attack, you just declare an attack against another character. For example, let's say the Sabertooth wants to take out that Terror Bird. He says he's going to attack, so he rolls his dice. He got a 2. He also has +2 attack up here, so he's got 4 attack right now. The Terror Bird would roll his dice. He only has 3, so he blocks 3 of it. The other one goes through, and the Terror Bird takes 1 damage. He's now down to 11 health, not doing too good. You can also lure. You can only lure or attack once per turn, so you can't both attack and lure. And when you lure, you play a lure card. They look like this, and it'll say lure a player into blah blah blah. In this case, it's a wildfire to take 5 heat damage. So this dire wolf wants to take out that Terror Bird. He could play this wildfire for 5 heat damage. And this Terror Bird has +2 heat resistance. So instead of taking 5, he would only take 3. So now he's at 8 health. Not doing great. And then, of course, there's the special abilities. The special abilities don't cost an action, so you can do a special ability and 2 actions still. And you can only do that once per game. So you have to choose wisely when you want to do it. And that's all of the actions that you can take. You can take 2 on your turn. Let me show you the events real quick. This happens once at the beginning of the round, and it usually affects everybody. So here, Meteor Storm, all players take 5 physical damage. Physical is this yellow. None of them have any resistance, so they would all take 5. So these 2 over here are at 15 health. And the poor Terror Bird is at 3. And that all just happened like in one round before he even got to go, which is something that does happen. Like I played my son last night, and like within 3 turns, I was able to kill him. But, you know, that just meant that we could play another game real quick. So once a character is defeated, they fall below 1 health. They are removed from the game. And then the remaining players keep going at it until somebody wins. And that's Beast's Edge of Extinction. Those are all the mechanics Like I said, it was really easy to learn and understand, which I liked. The art is great. But that's not even what we're here to talk about, right? We're here to talk about the expansion. And now is when the expansion comes into play. So let's say, for example, this terror bird has died. He is no longer with us. So he goes, haha, I'm going to play my Revenge of the Dodos expansion, and I'm going to get back into this fight. So in the Revenge of the Dodo, the terror bird character can now come back into the game with a new mission to try and destroy both the Sabertooth and the Direwolf at the same time, hence making the terror bird the new winner. So once you're eliminated, you would keep any of the lure cards that you have. Let's say he had this one. Just because it's out, we'll move that over. And everything else, like the character card and all your resources, are gone. And then you draw 2 cards from this brand new Revenge deck. And you also take this Zombie Dodo card, which says, total the number of dodos in the discard pile, all players roll. If the combined roll is lower, all players lose 3 health. So this gets shuffled into the event deck, and this becomes the Dodo player. We'll call him the Dodo player. The Dodo player's new cards, and he will draw 2 of them after shuffling. And then once it becomes his turn again, he can perform one of a couple of actions. He only gets 1 action. He can gather, which is to draw a card from his new Revenge deck. He could also draw a card from the resource deck, and if he draws any instant actions, like the Rabid Dodo attack that I showed you a minute ago, he immediately can give them to another player, because he can't take any damage, right? So if you don't want to gather, you could also play one of your Revenge cards or one of your Lure cards, or you can just straight up attack. And I don't have to show these cards to my opponents like the other cards. So here's an example of some of these Revenge cards. This one says replicate the ability of any discarded Revenge card. So if I played this one, for example, I could then play this, and it would let me redo this ability. This one says all players roll. The player with the lowest number must discard 1 equipped attack or resistance card. So essentially what all of these Revenge cards are is just screwing over the other players on the table, trying to get them taken out before they can take each other out, hence you winning the game. So it even says in the rule, ensure the final 2 beast players, these are considered beasts, are eliminated simultaneously for all Revenge deck players to win the game. So if we were playing a 4-player game, the 2 that were eliminated first would be working together to do this against the remaining 2. Same goes with a 5 or a 6. Everybody that's dead is trying to win over the 2 that are remaining. They're trying to take each other out at first, right? Because if whoever loses their life first, the other one becomes a winner. So this is just a way for the people who have been eliminated to keep playing in the game, which I really, really like. So yeah, that's it. It's not an overly complicated expansion, but it adds an element that allows the players who have already been eliminated to keep playing. Which really, that was kind of one of the only weaknesses, I think, to the game, is if you're playing with 6 people, the people that get eliminated quick, they're not going to have anything to do. They're going to be sitting around watching the last couple players go at it. This allows them to get right back into the fight, have fun messing with the other players that are still on the table, and it just adds a fun little extra element to the game. So yeah, that's everything that I know that I have that I could show you for Beasts: Edge of Extinction and its new expansion, Revenge of the Dodos. Well, guys, that is Beasts: Edge of Extinction, as well as its expansion, Revenge of the Dodos. I really like it. I like the artwork. I had fun while I was playing. I was not bored at any time. It's different enough from anything else that I've played. In my opinion, it's also kind of a good segue game into maybe like tabletop miniatures, because you have your own character who has his own powers, his own health total. He gets resistances that are stacked up. You have to do small, minute math. You have to heal, things like that. So it kind of takes some RPG elements, some things from other bigger games that, you know, you might have a hard time showing kids how to play. This allows you to kind of do that with cards. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, but I kind of felt that way when I was playing. And I think if I took like my younger kids, for example, and I showed them how to play this game, I don't think it's overly complicated. 14 and up seems a little high to me. I think 12 and up could do it, maybe even 10 and up, depending on if they've played games like this in the past. It's certainly not like, you know, a teenager can definitely get on board with that. Like, so I appreciate that kind of stuff. So is it good? Yes, it's great. I feel very fortunate that I was given the opportunity to take a look at it. I'm glad that the expansion is enough to allow everyone else that you know, has died and gone out to come back into the game to play. And yeah, I think that I think it's a winner. I think you should check it out. If you missed the last Kickstarter, you'll get a chance to purchase the base game with this Kickstarter. Like I said, it comes out. The Kickstarter launches in the beginning of March, which is what the developers are hoping for. And I will leave links to all of their stuff, plus the Kickstarter once it goes live, right in the description below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Helps us out a lot. Make sure that you share it with your family, friends, and nerdy communities. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see featured on our page, let us know in the comments section down below. If you have any videos that you would like to collaborate with us, make sure you hit us up on one of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Circle of Nerds. If you like podcasts, remember we do have a podcast that comes out every Tuesday called The Cosmic Disaster Show. It can be found right here on YouTube and on any platforms that host podcasts. And for a little bit of extra love and affection, make sure you check us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/circleofnerds. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I will see you in the next video.